Welcome to episode 456. Do you ever find yourself second guessing your body's signals, ignoring your intuition, or looking outside yourself for answers? In this episode, we're exploring self-trust, how modern life can disconnect us from our inner wisdom, and how Ayurveda offers a path back. Through awareness, observation, and small daily acts of consistency, we'll explore how to rebuild trust in yourself, one choice at a time. Welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host, Colette. And if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend starting with the first few episodes where I introduce the foundations of Ayurveda and the doshas. To learn more, work with me, or explore my offerings, you can visit elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And for podcast updates, join me on Instagram at Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. And before we begin, just a quick note to say that this podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. It's not intended as medical advice. Now let's dive into this episode. Hey there, and welcome back to the podcast. It's Colette today for a solo episode. And in this episode, I would like to explore something that I believe sits at the heart of healing, yet is not discussed nearly enough. And that's self-trust. Not trusting a practitioner, a protocol, or the latest wellness trend, but trusting yourself, trusting your body's signals, your intuition, and trusting what you know deep down to be true for you. When I reflect on my work over the years, whether through consultations, cleanses, courses, or this podcast, one of my deepest intentions has always been to educate and empower people to trust themselves more, to reconnect with their own inner wisdom rather than becoming dependent on me or someone else for all the answers. Because at the end of the day, this is your body. You live in it every day. You experience its signals, its needs, and its responses. Ayurveda can provide guidance and tools and a framework for understanding, but ultimately the goal is not for you to rely on an expert forever. The goal is for you to develop the awareness and confidence to become the expert on yourself. Many of us begin our healing journey because we have lost that trust somewhere along the way. We've become disconnected from our inner wisdom. We've learned to second guess ourselves. We've become so accustomed to looking outside ourselves for answers that we've forgotten how to listen within. And what I love about Ayurveda is that beneath all the practices, the routines, the herbs, and recommendations, it offers us a pathway back to ourselves, a pathway back to self-trust. So today, I'd like to explore how we lose self-trust in modern life and how Ayurveda helps us rebuild it, one observation, one choice, and one day at a time. I don't think most people consciously decide to stop trusting themselves. It's usually something that happens gradually. For example, perhaps you've had the experience of feeling tired but pushing through because there's still more to do. Or feeling hungry but delaying a meal because you're busy. Or needing rest but convincing yourself that you should be productive. Or feeling overwhelmed but telling yourself to keep going. At first, these moments seem insignificant, but over time, they create a pattern. The body sends a message, the mind overrides it, the body sends another message, the mind ignores it, and eventually we become so disconnected from these signals that we stop hearing them altogether. In Ayurveda, health begins with awareness. The body is constantly communicating with us through appetite, digestion, sleep, energy levels, emotions, and through the state of our skin, our tongue, our elimination. The body is speaking all day long. The question is whether we're listening. Many people tell me they don't know what their body needs anymore. They don't know when they're hungry, when they're tired, or what food feels good for them. And often that's not because their body is not communicating. It's because years of overriding those signals has weakened the connection. The communication is still there. The relationship just needs rebuilding. Modern life often rewards us for ignoring ourselves. We're praised for being productive, for multitasking, for pushing through, for staying busy, and for doing more. The ability to override our needs is often mistaken for strength. But eventually, the body sends stronger messages. And fatigue becomes exhaustion. Stress becomes burnout. Indigestion becomes chronic digestive issues. Minor imbalances become larger imbalances. In Ayurveda, symptoms are not the enemy, they are messengers. The body is constantly trying to guide us back toward balance. Yet, many of us have learned to see these symptoms as inconvenience to suppress, rather than messages to understand. What if instead of asking, how do I make this symptom go away, we asked, what is my body trying to tell me? That simple shift changes everything. Another reason self-trust can become weakened is because we live in a world overflowing with information. At any given moment, there are countless experts, influencers, books, podcasts, studies, and opinions telling us what we should eat, how we should exercise, when we should wake up, and what the ideal routine looks like. Information itself is not the problem. Of course, education can be incredibly empowering. The challenge comes when external guidance becomes more important than internal awareness. When we stop asking, how does this feel for me? And instead ask, what does everyone else say I should do? I've seen people jump from one dietary approach to another, one wellness trend to another, one protocol to another, always searching for the perfect answer, yet feeling increasingly disconnected from themselves. I know I've experienced this myself at different points in my life. Reading the latest article, listening to another podcast, searching for the perfect answer. Yet often the greatest shifts for me came not from learning something new, but from slowing down enough to listen to what I already knew. Ayurveda reminds us that there is no single lifestyle that works for everyone. There is no universal diet, routine, and no universal solution. There is only what is appropriate for you in this season, at this stage of life, in your current state of balance or imbalance. This is why Ayurveda is so deeply personal and why it naturally supports self-trust. One of the most powerful Ayurvedic practices is not actually a practice at all. It's observation. Simply noticing your hunger, your digestion, your sleep, your energy, your emotional state. Noticing how you feel after certain foods, activities, conversations, and environments. Observation sounds simple, yet it's revolutionary in a culture that constantly pulls our attention outward. It's basically a self-study. Ayurveda teaches us to become students of ourselves. When we observe consistently, patterns begin to emerge. We start seeing connections. We begin understanding how our choices affect our well-being. And this understanding becomes the foundation of self-trust. Because trust is not built through thinking. Trust is built through experience. As awareness grows, something else begins to emerge. We become better at recognizing intuition. Not intuition as something mystical or dramatic, but intuition as a quiet knowing, a sense of what feels nourishing, what feels draining, what feels aligned, and what doesn't. The more we listen to the body's wisdom, the easier it becomes to hear this quieter inner guidance. Many people imagine self-trust as a feeling, but I've come to see it more as a relationship. And like any relationship, trust grows through consistency. Imagine a friend who repeatedly says they'll call you but never does. Eventually, the trust begins to erode. Now imagine a friend who follows through over and over again. Trust naturally develops. The same is true in our relationship with ourselves. Every time we notice a need and respond appropriately, we strengthen trust. Every time we honor our hunger, every time we go to bed when we're tired, pause when we're overwhelmed, choose nourishment instead of depletion, we're communicating something important to ourselves. I am listening. And when the body learns that it will be heard, the relationship begins to heal. This is one of the hidden gifts of Dinacharya, Ayurveda's daily self-care routine. The value is not simply in completing the practices. The value is in the message they send. The message that you are worthy of your own care and attention, that your well-being matters, and that you're willing to show up for yourself consistently. One of the greatest barriers to rebuilding self-trust is perfectionism. Many people approach Ayurveda with an all-or-nothing mindset. They create the perfect routine, they commit to doing everything, and then life happens. A busy week, travel, family responsibilities, unexpected challenges. The routine falls apart, and they feel like they failed. But perfection doesn't build trust. Consistency does. A simple practice you can sustain is much more powerful than an elaborate routine you abandon after 2 weeks. Sometimes rebuilding trust begins with one small commitment, like drinking warm water each morning, taking 3 conscious breaths before meals, going to bed 15 minutes earlier, spending a few moments checking in with yourself every day. Small actions, repeated consistently, become powerful. Because each time you follow through, you're strengthening the belief that you can rely on yourself. I'd like to leave you with a simple practice. At some point today, and maybe you want to put a reminder in your phone, to pause and ask yourself, what is my body asking for right now? Not what your mind wants, not what your schedule demands or what social media recommends. What is your body asking for? Perhaps it's food, maybe movement or rest or hydration or quiet, or maybe it's connection. Simply listen. And if possible, respond. The response does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be genuine. Because every time you listen and respond, you're strengthening that bridge between awareness and action. And that's where self-trust grows. If you've been feeling disconnected from yourself lately, I want to remind you that your inner wisdom has not disappeared. It's still there. The body has not stopped communicating. Your intuition has not vanished. The connection may simply need some nurturing. Ayurveda doesn't ask us to become someone else. It doesn't ask us to follow rigid rules or achieve perfection. It encourages us to pay attention, to observe, to listen, to respond. And through that process, awareness naturally grows. And something beautiful begins to happen. We stop outsourcing our well-being. We stop searching endlessly for the next answer. And we begin coming home to ourselves. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Come and share them over on the Elements of Ayurveda podcast community, or you can connect with me on social media. On Instagram, it's Elements of Ayurveda Podcast, and on Facebook, it's Elements Healing and Wellbeing. And if you would like support on your journey with Ayurveda, check out my online offerings on my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And if you have questions before booking, take advantage of my free 15-minute services inquiry call, and we can discuss which of my services best suits your needs. You'll find all those links in the show notes. And don't forget to follow or subscribe to the podcast so the new episodes automatically download for you. And if you would like to leave a rating or review, I would deeply appreciate it. Until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.